Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining me and my very special guest. You know him from his two electrifying Tony-nominated performances from last season in Terrell McCraney's Choir Boy and from the Temptations musical Ain't Too Proud. And now he is nominated for a Best Actor Emmy for his brilliant breakout television performance as gay screenwriter Archie Coleman in Ryan Murphy's Netflix series Hollywood. Please say hello to one of Broadway World's favorites, Jeremy Pope.
Well, I'll tell you something, Archie. I'm gonna change the way they make movies in this town. I'm gonna make sure that people like us aren't on the outside looking in anymore.
What do you mean, people like us?
Folks who aren't white,
You ain't white?
Asian, half.
You shitting me.
Huh? My whole life, I feel like I've been living in a really convincing costume.
Yeah. But you could pass. That ain't like being black.
You sound like my girlfriend.
Hold up. You dating a sister? Well, it's gotta be tough though. Can't go out together.
Yeah, some places they don't mind. The world's changing.
Maybe. But it ain't changing fast. So, Dick Samuels. You think he knows?
Knows what?
That I'm black.
He doesn't already know?
I never met anybody in person. I mailed in my script. He called me on the telephone. I told him, golly, Mr. Samuels, I'm just over the moon. You like my script.
You did not do that.
Golly, Mr. Samuels. I did.
Well, I hate to break it to you, Buster, but I'm pretty sure he's gonna find out pretty soon.
First off, how are you and where are you?
I'm so good. I woke up and I'm so good. I'm in LA right now. Quarantined, still in the house, but all is well. How you doing? Where are you?
So I'm in Hell's Kitchen.
Okay.
I'm just a few blocks away from Broadway. You know, this is the new now, my friend. This is what we're living in, right?
This is the norm. This is it.
You know, I was going to ask you, we're entering our 176th day since the New York theater shut down.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think of that number, Jeremy, does it seem like sometimes it seems like last week and sometimes it seems like 6 months ago?
It feels like that number is incorrect. To me, it feels like day 812, maybe 813. It's been a journey. I think everyone's kind of gone on a journey with the pandemic, the highs, the lows, then back up high and then back low. So this is the new norm. We are trying to make it work and find the joy in it. A lot of good has come from this, also a lot of bad, but I also believe that we don't leave this thing the same way we came in it. So whatever that looks like, we're on the ride for it.
Yeah. You know, how have you been handling it and dealing with the pandemic as it continues to go on?
You know, I've been just taking time for myself and my mental. I think, most of us are home doing things from home. So you really have time to deal with yourself and kind of unpack those things that you were maybe quote unquote too busy for. For me, in the past year and a half, I was working so much. So a lot of personal things I just wasn't finding space and time for because I didn't have any room for it. But it's been challenging, but also really nice to have some time to myself creatively, emotionally, and just connect and realign myself for, how I want to move forward. I think the thing that makes me feel a little bit at ease and less anxiety about it is like we're all in the same feeling versus like I'm not making a choice to like take a time out. So it feels like we're all kind of, taking space and time and, doing the safe things, staying home. And, so it's been a journey, but ultimately I think my spirits are a little bit better. And if anything, I'm excited to, get back to a norm of working in art and theater. Like I missed that so much. And there was a time where I was like, I don't know if I could do another show. Like it was one of those because I was so tired, but now like being away from it and you miss it. My heart really, really misses it and misses working with people. So I'm like looking forward to that whenever that day comes,
Yeah, beautifully put. Well, I want to congratulate you, my friend, on your Emmy nomination for Best Actor for your spectacular performance as gay screenwriter Archie Coleman in Ryan Murphy's Netflix series, Hollywood.
Thank you.
All of us in the Broadway community are so proud of you.
Thank you.
And we're so rooting for you. I mean, it's such a glorious series. How did you come about to get cast in Hollywood?
You know, it's all been a blessing. Ryan, Hollywood came to me the week of the Tonys last year. And you know, if anyone's familiar with how crazy that week is, you know, you're doing press, you're like almost to the finish line of just getting to the Tonys. We're doing rehearsals for the Tonys, and I was doing 2 performances, so I was just juggling my time of doing Choir Boy and Too Proud, also performing in the show 8 times a week. And my audition came in or my agent sent me an audition for Hollywood. Like, can you make this self-tape? And I'm like, what are you trying to do to me? Like, I have 0 time. I'm trying to sleep and make sure my, be on vocal rest. So it was the Sunday before the Tonys, and I whipped up a tape really quick. Like, didn't have time to overthink it or anything. I was just like, just got to get this out of the way so my agents can leave me alone, really. And I can get to my day off. And then the next day I got a call that Ryan Murphy wanted to offer me this part in Hollywood. But again, we didn't know what it was because I hadn't read a script. The sides, the audition that they gave me, the sides were dummy sides, so it had nothing to do with Hollywood. Obviously, I knew who Ryan was, but I didn't know who Archie was, what this part was going to be for the story. So I ended up having to call out of the Saturday show before the Tonys, one to rest, but also to meet Ryan Murphy to go, so what is it you want me to do? Yeah. And he told me, and I got really excited about it. And he was like, don't tell anyone. So I was at the Tony Awards that Sunday with my family, and like 2 rows behind me is Darren Criss. He's like, hey man, we should work together. And I'm just like, yeah, we should.
Oh, you couldn't even tell him.
I couldn't say anything at the time. But that kind of is how the journey began with Ryan Murphy. And later on, weeks later, he ended up sending me a script. So I got to see what it is he wanted me to say yes to.
Okay, I also want to give a big shout out to Janet Mock, who was one of the writers, producers, and directors on your show. I mean, she had your back from the very first day. Talk about the conversations you had with her about the role and everything else and how she protected you.
For sure. Well, the thing about what we were creating is all of our scripts were not completed when we started. So a lot of the stories were being built in real time. So we were filming them and shooting them at the same time, sometimes doing multiple episodes. Wow. So it's different than theater where you know what you're creating, what story you're telling, and you really like unpack that. But Janet was my backbone, was in the room and having those conversations for my character specifically, for a gay Black man. I wanted to make sure that I had all of the necessary language to articulate what it is we were trying to say. Being that it was a fantasy world, there still needed to be elements of realism of like what we experienced, what we did experience. So Janet was that, being that she was a producer, so she had that power, being that she was a writer, so she had that, leverage, and also that she was directing me in, 2 of the most ambitious episodes of the series. So I had to trust her. I had to lean into, what she was saying. There was a scene where, I talk about the white people and how Archie is feeling in a moment, and I wanted to make sure that that was the correct language to articulate what it is we were trying to say and where we were trying to go. Being that I didn't know Archie was going to get to a happy ending. I just knew what I had in front of me. So Janet became that. I love Janet. She's such a phenomenal person, human being, such a phenomenal director. Everything she does, she really just pays attention to detail. So it makes it easier for you to kind of fall back and trust. So I love Janet so much. I'm so grateful to have had her in my corner during that season where, this is my TV debut. So I wanted to do right. I wanted it to feel good and look good. And she really made it safe, such a safe space to create and to try.
Yeah, I want to talk about Archie Coleman. Seems to be the perfect melding of actor and material. He's such a beautifully written character. What did the role of Archie mean to you personally?
Well, the thing about Archie is I knew that, if we're talking fantasy Ryan Murphy world, but if we're talking 40s, this character had to be so grounded in who he was because, you know, he's a Black man trying to occupy space in Hollywood, which Hollywood wasn't making pictures and art for people of color at the time. And then also he was an openly gay man. So I knew, like, essentially those are two strikes already when you're walking into a room, just based off of what people perceive and how the times were moving and shifting. So I began to, like, find people that were pillars for that demographic. Being James Baldwin was such a big inspiration for me in building Archie, just because I knew that Archie was going to open doors for so many others behind him. Like, that was his goal. It was never about Archie and Archie's success, but it was about, what if I could write a picture where people could see Black people fully and understand that, like, we want to be a part of this entertainment industry, but we want to be a part of storytelling, that we have greater stories to tell, that we are worthy, that we are enough. And I knew that that was his mission. So that felt very important and special, because I also know, like, how seeing that, how if we had seen an Archie Coleman in the 40s, maybe we wouldn't have had to wait till 2018 to see Jordan Peele win the Oscar for his screenwriting for Get Out. So it's kind of one of those things where, like, wow, it would have been a beautiful thing to know that that could have existed in the 40s. Had we given someone an opportunity, like, had we made a decision on one movie, it could have changed the world, just for other people to see themselves represented. So that felt like a powerful moment. And ultimately, that is what kept me trudging along as I was getting the scripts in real time, because I didn't know where he was going. I was just like, if I just hold on to this grounded person who wants better for his community, then, like, hopefully I can, take this to the finish line.
Yeah. What was it like working in the incredible world that Ryan Murphy creates? And what was it like working with him? Because he's not a man of many words.
Nah, not at all. Ryan says very little and does a lot. So I worked with Ryan on episode 1 because he directed episode 1. And he really likes to set up the world. He's such I call him a genius content creator, because he knows exactly what he's seeing in his head.
Yeah.
So all the way down to the color palette of a wall, he's very specific, and people are scared of him in that way because they want to get it right. They want to, do the job correctly the way that he envisions it. But what I love about Ryan when it comes to actors in that relationship, once he casts you or he's working with you, he trusts you to do your part. And for me, that is very theater. It's very like, you're here to do a job, do your thing on it. That's what it felt like. He wasn't, he didn't try to micromanage my performance. If anything, I was like, can you tell me if I'm good? 1 through 10, just rate it if you would. Cause he would just be like, you're fine, Pope. Like, he wouldn't say much. So, I really had to just trust that if something was wrong, he would tell me. But ultimately it was so special working with him. And then once he finishes directing, he becomes like a fly on the wall. That he's in all of the decisions. He's editing, in the editing room. He may not be on set, but he's watching. And he'll occasionally text me, here or there saying, things about the scenes or what we're working on. But he was really great to me. And he cast some of the, the great people. Like, I was, working with Patti LuPone, Jim Parsons, Joe Mantello. It's like Holland Taylor, like, just so many great human beings, but also incredible artists. And you put them all in the same room and you're like, okay, now paint. So that was really, really fun to be a part of that process.
So I was going to ask you, what was it like working with them? But then there's the newbies you got to work with too. I mean, talk about your newbie cast.
Yeah, well, we kind of split it up. We always talked about, like, how they're the old people. We like divided. We're like the cool kids and, like, the old people. I love the old people though. They were fun. They were actually more of a hoot than we were. I feel like Patti was like the best. She would be singing Evita, like whatever you needed Patti to do. But then, like, as soon as it was action, she would, like, lock and roll. And it was like, you're crazy. I love it. It was really, really special. I think everyone moved like an ensemble. It was a big ensemble piece. All of us were, we didn't really know where the show was going. So we really had to lean into each other and make the scenes when we had them the best that we had, give them all we had, give them our best. So ultimately it was really, really special. I have no negative thing to say about anyone or any part of that process. It really was a really special, from the creative to the crew. That's the thing. Ryan keeps a small family of people that he works with over and over. So they do build a family. they get each other without having to say things. And there's a special way in which they work. So I was just grateful to kind of enter that space and feel just protected and feel safe, you know, because you just never know. You just never know.
Well, here you went from Broadway. I'd love to talk to stage actors who like then work in TV or film. And this was a big deal for you. I mean, this is your television debut and you've entered the world of Ryan Murphy playing one of the leads. Do you remember your first scene that you shot? And what was that day like for you?
I do. I was very anxious because what people don't know is, or maybe some people, I don't know, when we first got the scripts for Netflix Hollywood, there was a lot of nudity and a lot of simulated sex. And, you know, it's one thing to do it on stage, but it's one thing to have something live on the internet or live on Netflix forever. So I'm very anxious. I was very anxious for the conversations I was going to have with my mother and my father and my grandmother. So that was one of my first days, was a scene where I'm supposed to be simulating sex and be naked, and there's just you have the intimacy coordinator there trying to like make you feel safe, but you're also like, this all feels very bizarre. Like I don't know what's happening. Suddenly I can't move my body. Everything feels strange. But again, they made it fun. They made it safe. Ryan's also a person where like he has this joke where like never learn your lines because it's going to change on the day. So that was another thing that I had to just kind of, it was a big game of improv where you'd come and feel very prepared for your scene, and Ryan be like, scratch, we're going to do it this way. And you just have to like run with the wind that way. So that's ultimately what happened. It ended up being less sex, less nudity, which my mom is very grateful for.
Was that scene with Jake Picking, who played Rock Hudson?
Yes, Rock Hudson. So that was, I think that was my second day on set, but that was my first day with Jake. So
it must have been great to work together. Like here you are as Archie. Here he is as Rock Hudson. You're like the newbies in all of this. You're like, let's band together on this and have each other's back, right?
Honestly, I think that is what like created such a beautiful chemistry between me and Jake, is we really had to like trust each other on screen and off. Because I remember there would be moments where it was a closed set and they would be, you know, changing camera lenses or whatever, and we'd be like, this is a lot. This is a lot. Like, good to meet you. When's your birthday? What sign are you? Like trying to like learn so much about each other in such a short, you know, period of time. And you know, we're both anxious about, you know, just the performance and wanting this to be really special. And we just made a pact to each other to like lean on each other. And if you ever need anything, I'm here for you. You know, he was playing a historical figure. I just came from playing Eddie Kendrick. So I was like, I understand that, like feeling that pressure of trying to be something for people. But I was like, ultimately, just like, you've been cast for a reason. Ryan sees the spirit of, you know, Rock Hudson in you. So just lean into that, trust that, know that you're enough, you know, like there was like conversation that we had for each other that ended up just really, you know, he was my rock, if you will. During the process, he really became a safe space, like home. It felt like whenever I worked with Jake, you know, I knew we started at the beginning together. So we really understood each other emotionally, creatively, artistically. We had very similar processes of how we like to work. So it made those scenes in particular very easy to like lean in and to know like he had my back, I had his.
That's terrific. You know, the series closes out, of course, at the Oscars. Spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen it. Of course, that is such a magical section of this. I mean, I was literally sitting here weeping, watching that, thinking, oh my God, this isn't real, but what if it was? And of course, your character wins an Oscar and you give one of the most beautiful speeches about how everyone's life matters and everyone's voice needs to be heard. How emotional and emotionally was that for you to film, and what it meant to you personally?
Yeah. You know, I cried a lot. I remember when I read the script, because it just felt very powerful on the page. You know, and in preparing for it, you know, for something like that, it was different. I prepared for it a bit different because you want it to feel kind of fresh. You don't want it to be over rehearsed or whatever. So actually for that take, or when we were shooting my acceptance speech, it was early in the morning, I remember, and they were waiting for the girls. They took much longer to get ready. They were waiting for them to get ready. And I told them I would like to do it by myself. So I'm actually doing the speech talking to an empty room. But I did that because the words felt like they were for me.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes, you know, being an artist, you have the highs and lows of it all. But like when Archie is saying you are enough, you have value. Me saying that however many times we said it, it was like a very real moment for me to like lock in and trust that feeling, to know like you started playing Skimbleshanks in high school in Cats, and now you're in a Ryan Murphy show giving an, you know, an acceptance speech, if you will. Not real, but like maybe one day it will be. You know, it was one of those things where like I really had to lean in and believe that for myself. And it's special, and I knew the power behind those words and what it was going to do for the audience watching it. I knew what it was going to do for, you know, the characters in our show. Like, it was a very special and precious moment. And it was really fun. That the Oscars was so fun to film because we blocked it like an Oscar. So they had like about 8 cameras, and we just ran it for like 45 minutes, and we just, you know, they were cheering us on. The extras were so phenomenal that day. I remember it felt like a real award show. I was like so excited, like maybe I actually won something. You know, and it was really special. It was really, really special.
You know, we have theater fans watching all around the world today. I mean, they love the journey you've taken. You mentioned Cats. I know that in high school changed everything for you, but I want to give a big shout out to AMDA. I mean, how did you keep that audition secret from your parents, and how did you do that? And how did you tell them you were accepted?
I know. So, you know, I drove to this audition and gave my heart out in this audition, and basically told them like, I need all the scholarship money I can get, because I have to basically build this case to present at the dinner table to my mom. Be like, this is what I want to do. And, you know, ultimately, my parents are my biggest fans now. My mom in particular. They, you know, parents can be very scared, because how do you deal with a child that's going to go into a business that, you know, is subjective at times? How do you deal with, you know, your kid feeling like they're not good enough? It's hard when you keep getting no's in audition rooms. You start to wear that no and feel like that no is like no to you, when it just means no, you're not right for that specific project or whatever the case is. And that is ultimately what parents, I think, are the scariest of, you know. But shout out to AMDA, because it's, you know, I got in there and was like, I'm ready to work because I have something to prove to my parents. Ultimately, I got to prove to them that it is possible. And it took me a while to find my stride, you know, in musical theater, because I felt like there was very limited roles for 17-year-old Jeremy at the time, with the pop voice that I had, and like just trying to find my lane in which I could really ride out. But once I got to senior year, or, you know, and I just started running. I just started going. I just started trying and plugging where I could. And you know, I'm very grateful for the tools that they gave me, to be a better business, to learn what I have to offer, and then just to lean into that. And that's, I think, the switch that I made. Instead of trying to be something else, or a version of someone else, I just was like, this is what I do really well. And let me, you know, hone that, and then like just bring that into a room. And ultimately, that is when I started to hear a little bit more yeses than nos. So grateful to all my teachers and mentors at AMDA who like guided me, who, you know, lifted me when I was feeling down and told me there would be a space for me. You know, I'm very grateful to them.
How surreal was last season for you? I mean, you only dream about these things. You made 2 Broadway debuts. I call them 2. You made your Broadway debut first in Terrell McCraney's Choir Boy, and then you made it as playing Eddie in the Temptations musical Ain't Too Proud. Then you were nominated for 2 Tony Awards. I think it's only happened 5 other times. I mean, what, as you look back at last season, how do you put it all into perspective?
You know, it was a beautiful year. It was a crazy year. It was the hardest I've ever had to work. And I remember every chance I got, I was like, I want to enjoy this, because I know this moment. Here we are a year later talking about it like a thing in the past. And I really wanted to be, you know, connected with my boys in Ain't Too Proud and my family at Choir Boy, and really just like take in the moments. And just, you know, I was so grateful for the experience, Tony noms or not. Like, I just wanted to know that I made it, that we're here, that like our stories are necessary, that people want to hear them. Because I was a part of 2 of the biggest, blackest shows on Broadway in the same season, you know, and like what those shows were saying, who, you know, the creative people behind those shows. It was such a special, special, special moment. And I'm so very grateful for everyone that like literally held me up during those processes. I was just trying to make it to the finish line, and we did. And I know we changed lives, and we the messages and the emails, that was kind of the best part about that journey, is the messages I would receive or the people I would meet at the stage door. I love theater because you get to connect in that way. And that's one thing I miss with TV and film. It's a different connection. I'm like on Twitter talking to people around the world, but like to have that live experience and to hear how powerful, you know, the narrative was for someone that night, or the healing that theater provided for them that night, or the entertainment with Temptations. Like the journey and the waves, it was so, so special. And that's why my heart lies in the theater. I can't wait to get back to theater, you know, because it is a magical place. But yes, last year was insane, insane, but such a beautiful year.
Yeah. One of my final questions for you is, November is a big deal with this election coming up, with everything that's happening in the country and people raising and lifting their voices for change. Would you just talk about the importance of this election and why people should register and vote?
Absolutely. So this is the tea. This is the deal. You know, we are experiencing a lot of heartache right now. I also believe that a lot of things have come to the surface, and we have to hold ourselves accountable for the change we want to see. The only way to do that is to vote and to allow your voice to be heard. It's important that you get educated, you read, you research. There's so much resources out there. We have our phones on us all the time. So like I advise people to just dig deeper within yourself, understand what it is you feel, what it is you want to see for yourself, for the communities of people you say that you support, that you believe in. And then you need to like understand the local politics, but also the grander politics of it all, because that's the thing that I feel like I was disconnected to, or I didn't realize when I turned 18. It was all about like, who's your president, who's your vice president. But it's important to understand wherever, you know, state you're voting in, your local politics, because that is how, you know, those things can affect you more. So we have to go out and vote. We have to go out and vote. I believe in, you know, having your opinion, but educating yourself, understanding who you're voting for, what you're saying. And then let's go out there and make a difference. Let's go out there, band together, and like change the world, because it's in our control. It's in our power. I think last year, 4 years ago, we got a bit lazy. We thought like we were good. There's no way, but there is a way. You know, when there's good, there's also evil. So I think, you know, a lot of things have come to the surface. We know what we know. We see what we see. Call an ace and a spade a spade. So it's up to us to be the change that we want to see. It's up to us to go out and to educate ourselves, to educate our communities, to educate our parents, our grandparents, and really hold each other accountable to go out there and make a difference. So I say vote, rock the vote. Let's take back the vote.
Beautifully put. You are such an inspiration to so many young people, not just because of your work, but who you are as a human being and your work ethic and what you give back. What does that mean to you? Because I know a lot of fans, the kids at the stage door for Choir Boy, and of course, people have reached out for you for Hollywood, what that means to you.
Yeah. You know, I think I'm very grateful for all the support. I'm grateful for the love. I'm grateful for it all. I think it's one of those things where as I'm learning about myself in real time, it's happening in real time. The one thing that I can do is tell my story and tell my truth. So if anything, that's what I'm trying to lead with, to remind people that they are enough. You know, sometimes I'm doing that for myself, but there's people out there who need to hear it. I know that there was a time where I needed to hear that, and to know that, you know, the quiet, Black, not out yet Jeremy was like, I don't know how I feel, or I don't know how to navigate, but to know that in time you will, and you're going to blossom into something beautiful, and you're going to change the world in whatever field it is that you are a part of. And to just, you know, remind people out there to lean into your light. We all have a light in us, and to just try to lean into that, try to shape that and understand that, and then just like be of service. If anything, that's what I hope to do, is in anything I'm a part of, art or not, is just to be of service and to be a part of something bigger, a larger conversation. Because there is so much healing and love in our industry and in my gift of being an artist. So if anything, I'm just very grateful that people respond to that and feel anything from that, because that's such a gift.
My final question is, what is the biggest takeaway been for you with being a part of the groundbreaking series Hollywood?
Good question. Let me think. I think the takeaway for me in the beautiful but chaotic journey of filming Hollywood, it was just trusting myself, trusting my gut, trusting my instincts, finding the people in the room to have the conversations with that you can trust, the Janet Mocks.
Yep.
One person I don't talk about enough, but Alexis Woodall, she runs a lot of Ryan's stuff. She was a great person for me in Hollywood. And at the end of the day, it always came back to like, what is it you feel and you want to do? And it's okay to speak up and trust that. So if anything, I walked away with just a little bit more confidence of like understanding that like your voice is just as important as theirs. And to lean into that and to give it your all, I guess. So working with the Darren Criss and the Patti LuPone, I watched everyone do that. They have a gift, they know how to use it, and they trust themselves. They ask all the hard questions, they get the material, and then it's like there's a point where like, okay, now you do what you need to do and soar. And that's what I felt like Janet Mock and Ryan and Alexis allowed me to do, was soar. But I was only able to soar because I trusted myself and I trusted the people I was with. So that was the takeaway as I make, strides into other projects and other things.
Well, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for dropping by Broadway World today.
Thank you.
And I mean, like I said, you soared beyond in your television debut. I mean, congratulations on the Emmy nomination, your continued success. I hope we get you back on Broadway sooner than later. But whatever you do, we adore you, my friend. Everybody stay safe and we'll see you soon. Take care.